Billionaire from Beyond. He's dead, but the advice remains. The usual seance didn't go as planned. Max had wanted to ask a couple of questions about money and luck, but the joke went too far, and the one who shouldn't have been summoned appeared, the ghost of Rockefeller. He wasn't frightening or threatening. He spoke calmly, firmly, and too precisely about poverty, about people, about order, and the illusions we live in. And with every conversation, Max began to understand. The advice of the dead billionaire works. But every deal has its price. And the more Max lets Rockefeller into his life, the harder it becomes to understand who is making the decisions now and who will ultimately pay the bill. The preface. From a place where money no longer matters. I died a rich man. This is not the same as dying happy. When you read these words, my name is still used as a symbol of success. It's a shield, an excuse, a source of fear and inspiration. I've been turned into an idea, a convenient, flat, safe idea about money. This is a mistake. On the other side of life, the main delusion of the living disappears, that wealth explains anything. From here, it's clear, money only amplifies what you already are. It doesn't create a person, it exposes them. Max asked me questions that people usually don't ask. Not because they're difficult, but because it's dangerous to know the answers. This book isn't about how to make a fortune. It's about what remains when a fortune no longer shields you from yourself. If you're looking for comfort, close the book. If you're looking for a formula, you've come to the wrong place. But if you're ready to see money without romance, without mysticism, and without excuses, then keep reading. I've already paid my price. Now it's your turn. Let me know if you'd like any tweaks. Part 1. Invisible Causes. Chapter 1. The Session, in which Max leaves his home and makes a fatal mistake. Max didn't like leaving the house. Not that he had a fear of the outside world. No, that was fine. He simply saw no practical reason to step out. At home, there was his computer, the internet, a fridge, and work that, while not making him happy, reliably paid the bills and occasionally offered the illusion of a future. Max had been working remotely for many years. So many, in fact, that sometimes he felt if he ever went outside and forgot his Zoom login, reality itself would refuse to recognize him. He was an introvert to the core, not the romantic type who observes the world, but the practical kind. Fewer people meant less noise, easier breathing. He was well over 40, an age when, by social contract, one was supposed either to have achieved something or at least look like he was about to. Max looked neither. He didn't run a company, launch a startup, write a book, escape to winter in Bali, or even run a channel with a wise face and motivational quotes. Friends and acquaintances still called him Max, despite his age, not Maxim Andreevich, as was common among more established contacts. And he didn't mind. It even made him feel younger. Let's stick with that name. Honestly, he had no idea where he had gone wrong. Money was a separate pain. He thought about it. A lot. Sometimes too much. He read books on financial mindset, watched videos on cash flow, jotted down clever quotes, and even tried keeping spreadsheets of income and expenses. Yet with money, he had a strange, almost mystical relationship. The harder he tried to attract it, the more elusive it became. Sometimes it felt as if he were literally chasing his own tail. And this tail was mockingly close, almost within his grasp, yet always slipped away at the last moment. Despite all his rationality, Max indulged in what he himself called magical thinking. He wasn't religious, but he believed the world was a subtle thing. That intention mattered, that rituals could work, that if you worded a wish correctly, the universe might nod. He lit candles, wrote his wishes on scraps of paper, tried money practices he would later sheepishly delete from his browser history. And none of it worked. By the time Max was nearly convinced that he was either fundamentally doing something wrong or that reality itself quietly ignored him without malice, he got a call from Dima. "Listen," said Dima in the cheerful voice of someone whose life, for some reason, still happened to him. "Want to go to a seance tonight?" "Moksbusht." "For what?" "Just for laughs." Question mark. "Seriously, there's this lady, a medium, all that. Promises contact with the beyond. I don't believe in it, but it'll kill the evening." Max didn't believe either. Not in spirits, not in mediums, not in voices from the other side. But he did believe in something else, boredom. And that evening, boredom was especially thick. "All right," he finally said. "It can't get worse." The hostess was called Mavludin. The name immediately put Max on edge. He felt he had heard it somewhere before, but he didn't dwell on it. The apartment was ordinary, not gloomy, not run down, no skulls or black wax candles. Just thick curtains, a round table, and the scent of something spicy, as if tea with herbs had recently been brewed. Mavludin spoke calmly and confidently. People speak that way, either when they know exactly what they're doing or when they've long since stopped doubting themselves. "Today, we'll try to establish contact," she said. "Who would you like to invite?" Max exchanged a glance with Dima. The latter barely suppressed a smile. Max smirked. "Rockefeller." Mavludin paused for a moment, then nodded, as if summoning billionaire spirits were an everyday task for her. Max didn't yet know that at that very moment, he had made the first and most crucial mistake, the one that would set all subsequent events on an unpredictable course. Seance scene. Continuation of Chapter 1. They sat around the round table. The table was covered with a dark cloth patterned with designs that Max immediately mentally classified as universal mystical swirls, suitable for any cult. In the center stood a single candle. "Economical. Hold hands," Mavludin said. Dima snickered but complied. Max took his hand without enthusiasm, mentally promising to sanitize it later, just in case, against otherworldly germs. "Close your eyes," Mavludin continued. "Clear your mind. Imagine light." Max imagined it. Light from his monitor. In the bottom right corner, a deadline notification. The light quickly vanished. Mavludin began muttering something, low, with pauses, sometimes drifting into a half-whisper. Max didn't understand the words, but the tone was confident, trained. It was obvious this person had practiced. The candle flickered slightly. Max noted the draft. John, Mavlugian said. John Davison. If you are here, give a sign. Dima barely suppressed a snort. A pause followed. Long, awkward, the kind of pause someone would normally fill with "so, is it working?" in everyday life. Then Mavlugian jerked abruptly. She said in a different voice. He is here. Max opened one eye, then closed it, decided not to ruin the atmosphere. He says, Mavlugian frowned. He is surprised. Good reason, Dima muttered quietly. I'd be surprised too if someone dragged me out of the afterlife into a two-room apartment. Quiet. Mavlugian hissed, but without anger. He asks. She hesitated. Why was he called? Mux shrugged. Well, he said. Curiosity. Fair motive, Dima approved. The most honest one. Mavlugian nodded, as if she truly received that answer from beyond. You may ask questions, she said, but respectfully. Sure, Dima said. John, tell me, when will the war end? The candle flickered again, or maybe it was just Max imagining it. Mavlugian frowned deeper. She drew out. He doesn't understand which war you mean. Logical, Max said. After all, he died almost 100 years ago. He says, Mavlugian continued, ignoring the comment. Wars always happen, and they always end, only to start again. Deep, Dima said, almost like in a fortune cookie. John, he persisted, what about Bitcoin? Is it a bubble? Is it worth investing now? Mavlugian froze for a second. Physically froze. She opened her eyes. He doesn't know that word. Write it down, Demas said. Might be useful later. Max suddenly caught himself feeling something odd. The whole scene amused him, yet in the back of his mind stirred a faint irritation. Not exactly irritation, more like a mismatch. Listen, he said aloud. Can I ask a question? Mavlugian nodded. Why does he? Mux stumbled. Why is he speaking Russian? A pause. A real one. Without any mystique. What do you mean? Dima asked, smirking. You expected an accent? No, Max said. I expected that an American billionaire from the 19th century wouldn't phrase thoughts as if he grew up somewhere near Ryazan. Mavlugian hesitated, then straightened and spoke faster, as if she had been waiting for this question all along. Souls don't speak languages, she said. They convey meaning, images, intentions, and I translate it into a language you can understand. Dima drôle. So if he knew Chinese, he'd be speaking Chinese now? Theoretically, yes. And if he didn't know any language at all? Dima pressed. Would he just shrug? Don't interfere with the process, Mavlugian said dryly. Max nodded, but something inside him cracked. Logic, perhaps, or the remnants of magical thinking. John, he said more calmly, are you satisfied with your life? The candle burned steadily. Mavlugian closed her eyes. She said slowly. He says he lived a long life. Almost 100 years, Max added. Yes, but, she frowned. He says he didn't accomplish everything. Now that sounds more like the truth, Max muttered. Dima chuckled. Well then, John, he said, Want to take another peek? This world's gotten interesting. Mavludin snapped her eyes open. The session is over, she said quickly. Contact is unstable. Max didn't know then that the contact had proven far more stable than anyone had expected. Return into Chapter 1. They drove in silence almost to Max's home. Dima steered with one hand, lazily twisting the volume knob with the other, unsuccessfully trying to find music suitable for the evening. So, he finally said, "How do you like our billionaire?" Max shrugged. "Normal. Modest. You just had a conversation with the richest dead man in history." "I had a conversation with a woman who can improvise well," Max said. "And with you." Dima smirked. "I liked it. Atmospheric. Especially when you asked about the language. I thought she'd freeze permanently." "She did freeze," Max said. "Just pretended it was part of the plan." "Listen," Dima threw him a quick glance. "What if maybe there's something to it?" Max wanted to respond automatically. No, it's all nonsense, psychological tricks, and the power of expectation. But for some reason, he hesitated. "I don't know," he said honestly. "If there is, it's definitely not in that form." "Yeah," Dima agreed. "Rothschild, I mean Rockefeller through Mavludin. That's overkill. Honestly, I thought seances were a thing of the past," Max confessed, "that the trend had long passed. I remember once we tried this at home, back when I was a kid. We summoned one spirit, then another, and nobody showed. Though my mom said she saw some smoke over the plate. Yeah, I didn't see a thing. But now you got the full experience," Dima smirked. They stopped at Max's house. "All right," Dima said. "If a ghost shows up tonight and gives you an investment tip, call me." "Definitely," Max said. "I'll tell him to wait until morning." He stepped out of the car, waved, and walked up to his apartment. The familiar silence greeted him. Not cozy, just familiar, like old furniture long ignored. "Night." Max went to bed as usual. No rituals, no expectations. He just turned off the light and closed his eyes. Sleep didn't come. Instead, thoughts arrived. Quiet, persistent, like mosquitoes you can't hear but still bite. He thought about money, of course, about how strange life was. Some die without knowing what to do with billions, while others live not knowing how to survive until next month without humiliating themselves. He recalled Mavludin's phrase, "Didn't accomplish everything." "What have you accomplished?" he asked himself in the dark. No answer came. He thought about his son, already living his own life, calling rarely, speaking cheerfully. Everything as it should be, and yet, as if a thin, invisible wall lay between them. Max turned onto his side. Suddenly, it became clear what he feared most was not poverty, not old age. He feared never understanding what exactly he had done wrong, where he went off track, why the tale was always a step ahead. He closed his eyes tighter, as if that could help. "All right, universe," he thought, without anger, almost tiredly. "Last chance. Or just tell me straight up that this has nothing to do with you." Somewhere on the edge of sleep, a ridiculous thought flashed. If only someone smart would come and explain it. The thought was so naive that Max even smirked, and only then did he finally fall asleep, unaware that the request had been heard.